What happens when Cowboy finds gold on Apache land, but leaves it? 13 years later, tribe repays him. Witness this unbelievable, true-inspired story right here on Whisper of the Past. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share where you're watching from. Let's get started. The Arizona sun beat down mercilessly on Jack Morrison's weathered face as his horse trudged through the rugged canyon. It was 1887, and Jack had spent the better part of 3 months searching for silver deposits rumored to exist in these mountains. His supplies were running low, his hope even lower. As he guided his mare around a rocky outcrop, something caught his eye. A glint of yellow among the red rocks. Jack dismounted and approached cautiously. What he saw made his heart nearly stop. There, exposed by a recent rock slide, was a vein of gold so pure and thick it seemed almost unreal. His hands trembled as he touched it. This wasn't just gold. This was enough wealth to change his life forever. Jack stood there for what felt like an eternity, his mind racing with possibilities. He could return to Texas a wealthy man, buy that ranch he'd always dreamed of, marry Sarah, who'd been waiting for him back home. This was everything he'd been searching for. But then he heard voices. Jack quickly moved behind the rocks, not out of fear, but caution. Through a gap in the stone, he saw them, a group of Apache people, including several children, walking along a trail below. They were heading toward a small settlement he could see in the distance, hidden in the valley. Women carried baskets, men walked with purpose, children laughed and played. Jack's stomach tightened. He knew exactly where he was. This was Apache land, sacred land. Land these people had fought and died to protect from prospectors and settlers who saw only profit where the Apache saw home and heritage. He looked back at the gold, then at the people below. In that moment, Jack Morrison made a decision that would define his character. He carefully covered the gold vein with rocks and brush, making it invisible once more. He took no samples, made no markings, drew no maps. He mounted his horse and rode away, carrying the secret with him. When Jack returned to Texas empty-handed, people called him a failure. Sarah's father refused to let them marry, saying Jack would never amount to anything. Jack found work as a ranch hand, living a simple, honest life. He never told anyone about the gold, not because he feared others would claim it, but because he believed it wasn't his to take. Years passed. Jack eventually married a schoolteacher named Mary. They had 2 children and lived modestly but happily. Jack aged, his face growing more lined, his hands more gnarled from hard work. But he never regretted his decision that day in the canyon. 13 years later, in 1900, Jack's life took an unexpected turn. His wife had fallen seriously ill with pneumonia. The doctor's bills were mounting, and the medicine she needed was expensive. Jack sold everything he could, but it wasn't enough. He was facing the possibility of losing the love of his life. One evening, as Jack sat on his porch consumed with worry, 3 riders approached his small property. As they came closer, Jack saw they were Apache. His heart raced, not with fear, but with confusion. How had they found him? Why were they here? The eldest of the 3 dismounted. His face was weathered and wise, his eyes sharp and knowing. He introduced himself as Naish, a respected leader among his people. With him were 2 younger men, one of whom spoke English fluently. Naish began to speak, his words translated carefully. He told Jack that 13 years ago, a young Apache boy had been playing in the canyon when he saw a white man discover gold. The boy had watched, terrified, certain that this would mean the end of their peace. Prospectors would come, their land would be overrun, their way of life destroyed. But then the boy watched something extraordinary. He saw the white man cover the gold and ride away. The boy told his father, who told the elders. They sent scouts to verify the story. They found the covered gold vein still untouched, exactly as the white man had left it. For years they asked themselves why. Why would a white man, in a time when gold fever drove men to madness and murder, simply walk away from a fortune? They debated it around fires, discussed it in councils. And they decided that if they ever found this man, they would honor his honor. It took them years to track Jack down. They followed rumors of a cowboy who'd returned from Arizona with nothing. They asked questions in towns, followed trails of stories, until finally they found Jack Morrison in Texas. Naish reached into a leather pouch and pulled out a heavy object wrapped in cloth. He placed it in Jack's calloused hands. When Jack unwrapped it, he found himself staring at a large piece of pure gold, along with a significant amount of money the tribe had raised. Through the translator, Naish explained that the Apache people had eventually been forced to relocate, their land taken by the government despite all treaties and promises. But before they left, They returned to that canyon. They extracted some of the gold, carefully and respectfully. They had kept a portion specifically to repay the man who had respected them when respect was rare. This gold, Nietzsche said, was not charity. It was a debt of honor. Jack had seen their humanity when most saw only obstacles to profit. He had valued their right to their land over his own gain, and now, in his time of need, they were returning that honor. Jack's eyes filled with tears. He tried to refuse, saying he'd only done what was right, but Nietzsche was insistent. He explained that accepting the gift honored them just as Jack had honored them 13 years ago. To refuse would be to suggest their gratitude had no value. With this gift, Jack was able to afford the medicine and care his wife needed. Mary recovered fully. The money also allowed Jack to finally buy a small ranch, modest but sufficient. He lived there with his family for many more years, always keeping a piece of that Apache gold as a reminder. Jack never spoke publicly about what happened, but he taught his children the lesson he'd learned. That integrity means doing the right thing even when no one is watching. That other people's rights and dignity matter more than personal gain. That kindness and respect, even when they cost us dearly, have a way of echoing back through time. The story of Jack Morrison and the Apache gold became a quiet legend passed down through generations. It reminds us that in a world often driven by greed and self-interest, there are still those who choose honor over wealth, dignity over profit, and humanity over gold. So what can we learn from this remarkable story? True wealth isn't measured in gold, but in the integrity of our choices and the respect we show others. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to Whisper of the Past for more incredible tales from history. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, remember that the most valuable treasures we can possess are honor, integrity, and compassion.